Alright, y'all, I'm back one more time. I'm gonna talk to these boxing accountants, managers, financial advisors, whatever. I'm talking about the fans who think that's what they are. Let me say this about the money. Y'all want to talk about money. I go out of my way not to go there. But I just want to talk about my perspective, my vantage point on this whole money situation and all this chatter about money when it comes to Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, when it comes to the split conversation, when it comes to who should concede what and all that. Let me just say this. On both sides, I hear arguments and case in points for why one thing should go a certain way, and examples of why it should happen and why it shouldn't be a problem for the other fighter because they did XYZ when it came to other opponents. I'm talking about on both sides. I hear this conversation. And both are valid points. But, and the same thing is said about, well, if this happens and if that happens, then this should happen. And I'm going to give an example. Like, there is a vein of thought that should Errol Spence Jr. go out and the Ugas fight happens and the pay-per-view numbers suck or aren't as good as the previous pay-per-views and his numbers decline, how does that affect the Terence Crawford fight being made? How does that affect the split? But then there's another thought process of, well, what if it does well? And then also, if he wins, he brings another belt to the equation. So how does that affect the first split? And I'm here to tell you that no matter what you think about or talk about from either side, what argument you make, the other side has a compelling argument to shoot it down. I mean, so y'all basically just going tit for tat every day, all day. And boxing is so much bigger than a saga that's going on between two fighters who right now aren't fixing to fight. You know what I'm saying? And I'm buying it. I'm feeding into it too because I'm talking about it right now. You know what I'm saying? There's other stuff going on in boxing that I'm not talking about, primarily because I don't really have time. But at the same time, I'm talking about this, so I could choose to talk about one of those other things. So like I said, I'm feeding into it too. But my main point is, I'm not going to sit there and keep going back and forth about these fighters' money, about why this fighter should get this, why this fighter should get that, and so forth and so on. Like I said, truth be told, you can make a strong case either way for either fighter. Truth be told, your argument can be shot down either way for either fighter, and there could be a strong argument to shoot it down. And the sad part about it is, if you took a position, no matter what the other opposing person says, you're not going to buy into what they're saying. You're gonna say they're delusional. You're gonna say they're a fan, a fanatic, fanboy, whatever. So it's like two people looking at the same thing, and they're looking at one of those optical illusion paintings, where on one side you're seeing an old lady's face, and the other side you're seeing a young man's face, and your brain is only going 9 times out of 10, upon first glimpse, your brain is going to keep showing you the same thing every time you look at it, and the other person, their brain is going to show them the opposite every time they look at it. And no matter how many times they do it, that's what they're seeing. And they can sit there and argue all day, but it's not going to change what the other person's seeing. And that's where things are when it comes to the Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford saga and situation. You know, the fans are spending all this time arguing and fussing and falling out with each other about these fighters. Meanwhile, these fighters are cool. You know what I'm saying? They're straight. They're in a good position. They're making the moves they want to make. And, you know what I'm saying? The reality is that the more we're talking about them, the more relevance we're bringing to them. And not only them, the suits who have been keeping these fights from us, the more money we're putting in their pocket. And probably the more they're going to continue to give us fights we don't want, and in lieu of the fights that we do want, because it's working for them. So y'all can take that with a grain of salt. I just put that out there. That's all I got on it. D-Lo 404 Boxing. Like, share, comment, subscribe, or don't. I'm out. Peace.